Hello, my name's Alex. A few days ago, I went to a music festival where I caught COVID-19, and I'm now self-isolating for 10 days. Every single day throughout these 10 days, I'm going to be recording a podcast with someone interesting or cool, and I want to find out more about their passions, hobbies, and life. Hopefully, this will stop me from going insane. We'll find out together. Welcome to the RONA CHATS. Enjoy. Episode 8. We're still here. I'm not wearing the poncho anymore. I'm in pink today, matching with our guest, who is a wonderful musician who got a lovely head. It looks just completely smooth and wonderful. I'm joined by, of course, Jordan Lewis. How are you doing?
Hello. I'm good, man. How are you today?
I'm good. As I look towards ever closer to my day of freedom from these four walls, I feel happier. Gradually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When is the freedom day for you?
My freedom day is the 8th of August. So, in fact, the government lied to me. They, it's like, it's 10 days of isolation. No, it was 11. I on the NHS app, they told me 11. So
they proper fucked you over with that one.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
at least you'll be free on my birthday.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Oh man, how have you been finding the end of the world? What's it been like?
It's been a weird one, really. So for the entirety of the first lockdown, I stayed away, did my bit. I'd left my job just before shit hit the fan. So I missed out on the furlough pay, which was really annoying. So I was freestyling the first lockdown on Universal Credit. Which is fine, is what it is. And then round about October time, kind of picked up a full-time job just to kind of, get back into the swing of it. I was tearing my hair out by the end of it from boredom. But yeah, recently left that job because it was quite a burnout, especially over lockdown and stuff like that. So I just know what I want and I want to get there. So,
Cool. Oh, I'm glad to hear. Well, I mean, now that we're past the real thick of it, I noticed that you've been playing some gigs. What's that like?
Yes, yeah. I tell you what, Alex, it's been incredible. We've had one show back, and I didn't realise how much I actually missed it. Just being in a room packed full of people and to be able to just get on a stage, you've got 20, 30 minutes, the room is yours, do what you do best and just have a fucking good time. And it was sick. It really brought it back, kind of thing. And just, being with your best mates on stage, nothing really beats it. The only kind of downside was that it ended up being a super spreader event.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So half the band got COVID, and the other bands got COVID, and my mates who went got COVID. So it was all kind of, it wasn't ideal. I managed to evade it somehow. Still thinking I'm naturally immune. Yeah, thank you. Still thinking I'm naturally immune or something. But yeah. But overall, it was a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the gigs that we've got lined up.
Yeah, I can imagine. I suppose before everything got shut down and we were so ignorant in knowing what was ahead of us, but how to kind of pre-pandemic is the word I'm looking for, but how did a gig coming back after so long of just nothing yet still yearning for that, how did that compare with the pre-pandemic days of gigging? Because I know when I think about my shows, I'm like, I took that for granted. Damn, we were so lucky. But also at the same time, I was kind of thinking this is a very unusual event. So I didn't take it for granted. It was normal.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you on that one. I think in all aspects of life, everything was taken for granted. You'd never think that, in my lifetime, I'm going to have to stay at home. I'm going to have to socially distance from people for the greater good or whatever. So yeah, definitely took that for granted. But coming back to it, it was this whole cathartic experience of build up of emotion throughout 18 months of not being able to do the one thing you kind of love. And to really share that moment, as I say, with my three best friends, it's just something you can't pay for that. You can't get that anywhere else. It is a really kind of beautiful thing. And I think especially for our band, we'd gone through a transition pre-COVID of kind of going more towards the hardcore genre, and releasing a two-track single that, you know, it was well received, and we were finally kind of playing the shows that we want to be playing on the bills we want to be playing, and we had all that momentum, reaching where we want to be, and then it just got cut off, just smack like that. We had to cancel all our shows, all the upcoming tours and all of that, and you know, it was gutting, and it was very hard for us. I know there were difficulties in the band because, you know, as much as you could do a Zoom meeting or you could talk online during lockdown, you will never get that same kind of magic or the essence of what being in a band is. And, you know, there was a lot of friction for a lot of time. And to be honest, you know, we didn't know when we'd be playing music again, and if we should focus on different careers or this, that, and the other. But I think at the end of the day, if music is what you're interested in, then that is ultimately what you're going to do, and nothing's going to get in your way.
Of course. Did you guys try and attempt, I guess, like to write music during the pandemic at all? Like,
Yeah.
how did that go?
Yeah, so we're quite fortunate in having Dan in the band, the drummer Dan. He is a machine. You know, he'll bang out demos, this, that, and the other, because he's so musically talented in kind of all instrumental aspects of the music that we write. So, you know, he'd get a demo together on whatever software he uses, and he'd send it over and be like, "What do you guys think of this?" And we'd be like, yeah, no, we can work with this. This is brilliant. This is exactly what we want to be doing. And then Laura will write the lyrics to it. And then kind of before you know it, we've got a very realized piece of music. So when we were able to meet up and rehearse and the rest of it, we kind of go into a room with the ideas and the made up kind of demo, if you will, and we can just go from there and see if it works naturally, and kind of like, you know, if there's chemistry with this music.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, you mentioned earlier about the kind of transition from, I suppose, I guess quite a almost punkish yet still kind of with elements of hardcore, to being like, we want to be as angry as possible. I guess.
Yeah.
What was what was your guys thinking about that transition for Ill Informed?
So pretty much the turning point. I can give you the exact point that we all had the conversation. We played. It was kind of a mixed bill of punk and like thrash and hardcore. And we played this mixed bill in London. I think it was at the Old Blue Last, sick venue. And we'd played the set, and like the rest of the bands after us were a lot heavier, and we could see that there was more pitting and this, that, and the other. And we kind of came to the realization that we're in a very, very awkward middle ground where we've got elements of punk, we've got elements of hardcore, and it just doesn't, it's not really, you know, melding well together. That we need to either pick one or the other. So we just had the conversation, and we were like, look, we all listen to a lot of hardcore at this point. We all want to be heavier, so let's just do it. Let's just bung all the material off, and we'll just start a new page. We don't need to change the name. The name works quite well. It's kind of our ethos and you know, what we believe in and this, that, and the other. So let's just sit down and write new music. And you know, for all of us, it was such a good a good way of kind of progressing as musicians and as people and as a band. And I just have a lot of respect for what we did, and I'm happy that it's worked out for us.
Nah, brilliant. Yeah, I remember when you guys went through that transition, and I think I think it was a teaser on Instagram where it was shaky camera and the chuggiest chugs that a guitar can chug, um,
Yeah, yeah.
and uh, and I noticed that producing your records was Timothy, right?
He did. Yeah, he did our previous to the
Ah,
transition.
okay,
Yeah,
okay. What was it like working with
yeah.
him?
Yeah, no, he's a very cool guy. He's got lovely studios and the cutest little dog. We can't fault him. Like the kind of equipment he has and the knowledge he has, he's a very, very talented musician. And kind of like the what would you say, like the street cred of being like, oh yeah, I'm working with the ex guitarist from Hacktivist and like this, that, and the other. Was very cool. Yeah, so he did the first Ill-Informed EP, which I wasn't on. He then did the second one, which was never released actually. So a little bit of
Ah,
Ill-Informed trivia for you. We've
interesting.
got five songs that never saw the light of day, unfortunately.
Ah, okay, because I
Uh,
assume because I looked at like your socials, whatever, and I saw that you were recording. Then there was a bit of quiet, and then you came back with those two. So I was
yeah,
assuming
yeah.
that yeah.
Yeah, no, no. It seemed for quite a while that we had material that we were just sat on, and by the time we kind of got around to the headspace of like we need to release something, it was like this doesn't represent us as a band anymore. It's not really what we want to go for.
That spark had
Um,
gone.
yeah, yeah. Essentially, like I think there's only so long you can, you know, before you need to make the right choice, because you need to stick with it. You can't just be in like two minds about stuff
Of course, yeah.
creatively. Yeah. And so when we decided that actually we're gonna do this transition, we contacted Connor Sweeney from the band Loathe,
Hmm.
and he did our two track, and we did that all in his bedroom, and the
Oh,
kind of
mental.
results, yeah, I know the results he came out with were just fucking insane. Going from a kind of professional studio atmosphere to this guy's bedroom. Obviously he had everything there, but going from that space to that space, it's just insane. But you can the things you can achieve these days just in your bedroom is
Of course,
astounding.
yeah. I think that's really. I mean, some people are skeptics of well, now that people can make stuff in their bedroom, we're just getting a load of shit. But I'm so excited by the possibility of someone making like an absolute hit, like that will go number one, just
Yeah,
like in their jammies. I love that. I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, do you in terms of gigging and touring and whatnot, are there any kind of shows that stand out where it's like, oh, if I could, I would do that again?
Yeah. So just before pre-COVID, or just before COVID, I should say, we had a couple of shows at the New Cross Inn, and they were the bills we wanted to be playing, and the venue, excuse me, we wanted to be playing, and those shows just went off. We'd released the two track the day before, or on the day that we were playing the second New Cross show, and people were singing our lyrics. They were mic grabbing and singing our lyrics, and to be able to have that reaction to your music is just something that I don't think can be recreated through any other physical means. It was just insane, and it was so much fun. And I do look back on it with kind of rose tinted glasses now, because it is so long ago. But we got Upsurge. We're playing Upsurge Festival at the end of the month, and this is going
Mm.
to be the same venue. So now that people have had a little bit more time to kind of find us out in the hardcore community, I'm kind of hoping that it's going to go off even more than it did previously.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Is that the August Bank Holiday one?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that I have to
one.
say that is a hell of a lineup. That thing is meaty.
Yeah. No, it's just like an absolute mates fest. It's an absolute dream. It's just going to be so much fun. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
Oh, brilliant. Now, if my memory serves me correct, and correct me if I'm wrong, that throughout the pandemic days and the horror that was last year, if I'm correct, you guys with a bunch of other hardcore bands did some fundraising for charity.
Yeah, no, that's right. Obviously, with the whole BLM movement that really took off over lockdown, a bunch of the hardcore bands got together. This is why I love the community, really, because it is a small community, but we care about all the social issues that affect everybody, and we're not in it. We're not in it for clout or whatever reason. We're in it because we want to see a change. We want to make a difference, and all these bands got together. We all got together, and we did a run of shirts, which had like the BLM logo on the front, and we stand with the UK Hardcore stands with you, and then on the back we had a bunch of all our logos, and we released a tape. Which was like a compilation of either tracks that were specifically released for it, but obviously over lockdown, it was kind of hard to record or whatever. So we just stuck on one of our tracks from the two track, and people would pre-order it, pay money, and then all that money we collected went straight to the charities that were helping out with the George Floyd family, the BLM organizations overseas and also in this country, because I don't think I don't think widespread a lot of people appreciate that actually, even though you can kind of see it more over the pond because it's in your face, it is still very present here, even if it is kind of more subtle. More subtle in a sense, like with the microaggressions and this, that, and the other. But it does exist, and you see it firsthand, and it's disgusting. So coming together as a community for a really good cause is, I think it's just everything that we're for, and I think it's very beautiful thing to be a part of, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say that? I mean, as you've slowly listened to more and more hardcore and got into the community more, would you say that the kind of just how strong the community is together is something that almost surprised you in a way?
Um, in a sense, because like I think being on the outside of hardcore for a little while, I don't think you really see you don't see the community until you're kind of accepted into it, and you go into these shows and you're meeting all these people and you interact on social media and this, that, and the other, and then you realize we're all in it for the right cause, and it's like family because it is so small, and you go to shows up and down the country and you will see people, the people you see you will know that's just how it is, kind of thing. But yeah, definitely now being a part of it, you can really appreciate the work that goes into it, and how it's not just like spin kicking people in a mosh pit or whatever. It is deeper than the music, essentially.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It is. There's something very magic about it. I love that. Yeah. As we continue to look into the past, I was wondering, where were you a year ago? Doesn't have to be
A year
exact to the
ago,
date, but what was going
yeah,
on a year ago for you?
July. God, that kind of period, all melds into one. I guess like with 3 days off my birthday, so I would have been excited for that, getting ready for that. But I really did struggle during that kind of first bout of lockdown. Like I was going to sleep in the small hours, so like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and then I'd just sleep through the day because there were no motives, there were no plans, there was kind of nothing to look forward to.
Mhm.
I would just spend my time playing video games, watching films, watching TV, just kind of all those things that I would do as a hobby, it became like, I don't really know how to say it, but it became my life in a sense. Like there was nothing else to do. In some respects it's fine, but you don't want to start hating your hobbies, because
Yeah.
that's when it kind of sucks.
Your
Really
hobbies are an
sucks the fun
escape.
out
They
of it.
shouldn't be
Yeah,
a
like
central
hobbies are what you
focus.
do after you've been working for the man all day. It's not something that you want to be doing all the time. That's why it's an escape.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think was the? Do you think that was the thing that surprised you about lockdown? Was how? Because I mean, I found that. I mean, music was my. It was kind of, even though it's now my career, but it still was quite a hobby. But throughout lockdown, I was like, I fucking hate this. I hate music. I ended up teaching myself about like space physics and orbital mechanics because I was so sick of
Yeah,
music. Was that kind of
yeah,
like a thing for you where it was like a surprise that like I don't think I've ever could get bored of these things.
yeah, yeah, massively. Like you tell me that I've got to stay home and just play video games all day, I'll be like, oh yes, sick. I'm gonna love that. That's gonna be the best time of my life. But it just really wasn't. A lot of times I would just pause what I'm playing and just stare at the ceiling, because I'm like,
Yeah,
what have I reached? What have I become?
yeah,
Um, and like I would regularly or daily, I would go for a walk just for like hour or two, just to get out of the house, because the weather was beautiful. Like this time last year, like
it really
May, June,
was.
July, it was stunning. Like, I could just walk for hours on end, and it was lovely. But yeah, like I think, because I do really enjoy films, and it did give me an opportunity to get through the backlog of films I've been meaning to watch. And again, fantastic, but I just wasn't there, not there mentally. I didn't really have the mental capacity to understand or process what was really going on.
Yeah, no, I had a similar thing where me and my flatmates, I think it was each of us, we wrote down 20 films or so that we wanted to see. We all put them in a kind of a bucket, and every day we just picked one out.
Yeah,
And that went on for 3 months. But the problem is that because that time was so weird and whatnot, I couldn't tell you a single film that we'd watched in that period. I couldn't tell you the plot of a single. I knew that there was one that where it was someone battling with, oh, do I fall in love or do I choose a career in music? That was one, and they were in New York. But other than that, my mind is pretty blank.
yeah,
Yeah, it's strange how that did. I mean, I shan't um, fill you with all the horrors of continually looking back past over the past year. So, as we look to the
yeah,
future, what do you want to
yeah.
be different about for you, like looking over the next year?
So for me personally, I mentioned that I, just left a job. It was customer facing job, and so for me personally, I've made a vow that I'm not going back, because I know what I'm worth, and it is not that, and
Yeah,
I'm not going to beg someone for a pay rise that they're not going to give me, because what is the point? If you're not going to pay me, that's fine. I'm going. Like, you can't keep me here. It's just not, it's not fair. And so going forward, yeah, definitely that is definitely what I'm going to strive for, and I want to get into the film industry, and I'm just going to kind of not really stop until I'm there. And in terms of the band as well, I'd really love to see where that will take us, because I do believe in it, and I do think that we've got something very special. It's just that the last year hasn't been generous on us, and we're almost playing catch up, like just constantly trying to reach milestones that we feel like we should have done a while ago or whatever. Um, but yeah, and like just going forward, like just be trying to be what I thought I'd be when I was 16 or whatever. And because when the whole world kind of paused, like you took the time to kind of think about, like, what if this is the end? I haven't really achieved what I wanted to achieve, and I appreciate that I'm young, but this when I was 16, I didn't think I'd be I thought I'd be well on my way to be world famous director. Um, but it just life hasn't dealt me those cards, or I haven't looked for those cards. So I'm going to continue and just do my best and not stop until I am there. But yeah,
Brilliant. I
that's me
mean,
going forward. Yeah.
did you always want to get into a creative industry? Was that always the thing for you? Like, this is something
Yeah.
I want to do art.
Yeah. Like at school, I fucking hated academic subjects. Like it just did not vibe with me. Like the maths and science and those kind of subjects. I was like, I'm awful at equations. Like I don't need this. Whereas like creative writing in English or media, or when I eventually went on to do film studies at A level, they those subjects weren't hard. They weren't such what would you call it? Like they just came naturally. Like it was fun. I could just put pen to paper and just write what was ever in my head, and I would enjoy that. So from an early age, I kind of I didn't understand it back then, but I knew what I did and didn't like. So going forward, I did film at college, went on to do a foundation degree, and then went to uni. And I know that I want to do it. I've just picked the two hardest industries to get into, which that's sod's law. That's just what it is. But if you want to do it, then you're going to get there, and you're not going to stop until you get there. But yeah, some days it's just exhausting, getting rejected all the time, or just not hearing anything back, or having a job interview where you think you've nailed it, and you're like, oh, this is it, this is finally my time, and then they email you and they're saying like, oh, sorry, we're not going forward with the process, and it's like, yeah, okay, it is gutting, but I think it just it builds you as a person. And
Yeah. I mean, my stepmom has a wonderful saying, which is throw enough shit at the wall and some of it will stick.
yeah, and I'm a testament to that. Like eventually I'm going to get there. It just involves a lot of shit throwing.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. I suppose I should ask, favorite director?
right. You're lucky. You're lucky because I thought about this one before I came on. Without a doubt, Stanley Kubrick, and the films that he has done, they're just, in my mind, they're masterpieces, and I appreciate they're not for everyone. But I've got so many books on him, and I just love to read about him. And even I've got it under here, but I've got my like film shoot toolbox, and it says Stanley toolbox. So I've got a bit of chalk and wrote Kubrick underneath it, so it's a little funny joke to me.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, did you ever manage to get down to the design museum for the Stanley Kubrick exhibit?
Yes, I did.
Wasn't that was amazing, wasn't it?
That was beautiful. Me and my one of my other best mates called Jordan, funnily enough, we both went down. And it was cute, like little boys' date or whatever. And just to go around and walk around and be surrounded by everything you see in the films is amazing. And to be able to read all of the information, all of the little like tidbits about why he did this or what was the thinking behind that, it's just beautiful to kind of be in the mind of someone you look up to. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. I remember walking around there, and it was bizarre seeing like the original copies of Clockwork Orange and Space Odyssey. I was like, oh, the scripts are right there. The chair, that was a weird one, but yeah, that was fantastic. The information there was just brilliant. The Design Museum, I've been down there to a few exhibits, and I don't think it's ever disappointed. I say that there was a really bad one about tech going to Mars, which I didn't really enjoy. But other than that, the Design Museum, I thought it'd be really interesting, but it was very, I don't know, very science museum almost. But
Yeah.
but no, but no, the Stanley one was great. Yeah. So I should ask, as we've been scarred by God knows what just happened, what's giving you hope right now? What are you looking out for going? Yeah, that's something to keep on going.
I think a lot of people have become more self-aware over the pandemic about, well, obviously there was always a drive for recycling and all the rest of it pre-COVID. But I think having time being locked inside and only being able to kind of interact with the world through the television screen, you kind of see what's going on around the world a bit more. And I think people's eyes are they're slowly being open to forestation and the way we treat animals and the planet. And there were a bunch of documentaries that came out over lockdown on Netflix, like a lot of them about overfishing and why that is such an issue. And I think that's what's giving me hope, is that people are slowly realizing we can't continue to live like this, because Mother Nature's just going to turn around and say, all right, well, I can live without you, so I'm just going to kill you all off with a virus or whatever. But also the origins of coronavirus and how the current thinking is that it's a pig in a bat, and I don't want to sound like a preachy vegan, forgive me for this, but I think going forward we should certainly look to be more plant-based in what we consume, and just to be a bit more mindful about the kind of impact that meat eating does actually have, and perhaps the information that we're being told about the benefits of meat eating are coming from meat industries, and they're gonna want you to think they're bullshit so that you buy their products. But I just think, as a kind of civilization, we're now at a point where we don't necessarily need to rely on getting all our vitamins and nutrients from meat, and that actually there are alternatives out there. I appreciate they are more expensive, and I do appreciate that not everyone can fit that into their budget. But just maybe swapping a couple meals out a week just to try the alternatives is no bad thing. And it kind of goes back to my ethos of progressing as a person, is that we should always try new things, and that we should always step outside of our comfort zone. Because at the end of the day, we're not here for a long time, we're here for a good time. So why wouldn't you want to try everything? Why wouldn't you want to kind of, I don't know, extend your palate, or however you want to say it?
Yeah, of course. And also, vegan food is banging.
Yeah.
It's great. Like the reason I went vegan was because it's like, nah, this shit is better. Genuinely.
Yeah, and I often tell people, people will be like, oh, what was the transition like? Because I went cold turkey on all animal products. Me and my mates had just been to Trees 2019, and I was vegan that whole weekend. I was like,
very easy to be vegan at Trees. It's very easy.
Yeah. I was like, this shit is easy. I'm just going to continue it when I get home. And people were like, how's the transition? I was like, it's fantastic, because I used to really suffer with like an acid reflux, so I'd have real bad heartburn all of the time, and it was horrible. Like I couldn't really, I couldn't consume certain foods because I was like, it's gonna flare me up. And since being vegan, I haven't had that, and that's like giving me a bit of personal freedom back, and just enjoying life without having a burning sensation constantly. So,
it changed a lot for me, because I gave up. I went vegan, and then a few months later, I gave up coffee, and those are probably two of the smartest things I've ever done. Like my insights. So I've been vegan for a few years now, but with coffee, I will occasionally slip up because I do love it, and occasionally I do get very tired.
Yes.
But I've gone from drinking 2-3 cups a day to 1 or 2 a month, which is crazy.
That is really impressive, Alex.
Yeah, I used to be like, I always had a coffee in hand all the time. I remember going to college was really bad, because that meant that because I went to college in Watford, and that meant I passed a multitude of different coffee shops, all weird and wonderful, such as like Hatch, the LP Cafe, all of that. And I was like, oh, this is great. I got so embedded in coffee culture, and then I
Yeah.
realised that like it was having really bad effects on my mental health, my sleep, my digestive system. Some other
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
gross things that I won't talk about on here, but like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, I gave it up, and I was for a month. I felt like death,
Mm.
and then it was like I woke up one morning. I was like, I feel really normal today. Oh, this is what you're meant to feel like. So that was
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
that's really good, man. I personally I could not do that. So, I really admire you for that. I think that's incredible.
Yeah.
Do you drink like decaf coffee or just none at all?
So I'll drink a caffeinated coffee occasionally.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting away from just constantly being caffeinated because that was having like I remember I would just be lying in bed and it would take me ages to get to sleep, and I mean like ages.
Yeah. Yeah.
I remember at one point it was kind of like I would almost like subconsciously be sure to have a nightcap, just like before I go to bed, I might have a whiskey, I might have a
Yeah.
beer, just to kind of like sedate me so I can start to fall asleep,
Yeah.
which if continued would lead to a whole different problem in itself.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes. Absolutely.
yeah.
And it's very strange hearing that because, a lot of people when I tell them that I'm straight edge, they're like, "Oh my god, how do you do it?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's easy." And then hearing you saying that you don't drink coffee, I'm like, "Oh my god, how do you do it?"
Well, here's the interesting thing. I mean, so I think you knew that I was straight edge for about 5 years.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I kept up the coffee as well during that
Oh,
period, much
okay.
like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and it was almost like I took up drinking again. The coffee just went.
Yeah. Yeah. So is it recently that you took up drinking again?
I've been drinking again about 2 3 years again. I used to drink when I was quite a young teenager,
Yeah.
quite a lot because I did a lot of mobile DJing and like people's parties. I was friends with like a bunch of older people, and the novelty was that I was a DJ who was 13 years old that could throw one
Yeah.
hell of a party, and that
Yeah.
meant that I
Yeah.
was going to all these 18th birthdays, 19th birthdays, just general house parties, and I'd only get like I don't know, 40, 50 quid, but I would get a ton of booze, and I just
Yeah.
like was drinking to excess as a 13-year-old. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
so at 15, I found the straight edge community. I was like, yeah, I can get into this.
Mm.
Yeah, and it was so easy. It was really easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, but
Do you
then
miss it?
sometimes, yeah. Well, when I've got my head down a toilet oh yeah, there's the moment where it's like, hey God, it's me again. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I fucked
Yeah.
up.
It's your boy. Give me a
Yeah, no,
pass, please.
yeah, I don't like drinking to excess. I don't really don't like being the feeling of being drunk. I still have a very weird relationship with alcohol. But those years where I didn't drink and I didn't touch anything, I think were incredibly valuable to me in kind of learning that of like because I mean that I was straight edge from 15 till about 20, and those are some really important years in terms of like development, who you meet, who you want to be, and I was really
Yeah.
happy that I kind of spent those years with a sober head, that I was able to kind of build bonds with people and work out what I really wanted to do. I guess with a fresh mind constantly.
Yeah. 100%. And I think not enough people appreciate a sober head. Like it's kind of for the past year, for me at least, being straight edge, it's been such an eye opener because as you say, drinking is it's ingrained in UK culture. It's a very social thing. I would use it as almost a crutch to be able to talk to people because I did used to be very shy, and I will admit that. And since leaving booze behind, I've realised that actually speaking to people is easy. It's just all mind games essentially. At least for me, it was. But yeah, no, I'm glad you could have experienced that, and especially as you say during formative years, very very important years. when people would be partying, this, that, and the other. Going in with a sober head is, fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was a good time. It was a good time. But equally now, like, of course, look at me. I love craft beer. Give me a weekend in East London with a brewery, I would go crazy. Because I'm a living cliche. So, as we begin to wrap this up, I've got one final question for you. I'm looking for some reinsurance here, baby. I've asked this question to everybody, but are we going to be okay? It's been a time. Are we going to, like...
Me and you, are we going to be okay?
Choose who you're referring to, but God, the planet is dying. We've got Bojo in power. We've just been through a pandemic. I don't think I can take much more. So I need some reassurance. Are we going to be okay?
Yes, we're going to be absolutely fine. We're going to be absolutely fine, and everything balance out once more, and we'll crack on. But you just need to make sure that in your head that you believe that. You just got to believe it yourself, and you'll be dandy. You'll be fine.
Well, that's very reassuring to hear that. Thank you so much. And I thank you so much for coming along the podcast, along the RONA Chats.
Thank you for having me.
It was an absolute pleasure. Where can the lovely people find you, listen to your tunes and whatnot?
Yes. So band is Ill-Informed. I think it's Ill-Informed Band or HC. But Ill-Informed HC, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the rest of it. Amazing. I think that is essentially it. And
you can find that all in the description at home. Once again, I thank John for coming along, and be sure to stay tuned for tomorrow's episode, where we have the one and only Ant Bell, a very dear friend of mine, where we're going to be talking about their YouTube days and the world of music in the 2010s. So be sure to check that out with them. Also the playlist for the full RONA Chats is in the description. We're almost done. We've only got 2 episodes left, so you've got the RONA Chats Omnibus in the description. So once again, I thank you for coming. This has been the RONA Chats, and I'll see you next time.